Imagine waking up one morning to find your $1 million apartment slowly sinking into the ground. Picture entire cities disappearing beneath the waves while millions of people remain trapped inside. What if I told you there's a city that's been burning underground for over 60 years with no way to stop it? These aren't scenes from apocalyptic movies, these are real urban disasters happening right now across our planet. From skyscrapers that lean more than the Tower of Pisa to entire nations planning mass evacuations as they sink beneath the ocean, today we're exploring 40 unbelievable urban disasters that actually exist. You won't believe what humans have built and what nature and poor planning have destroyed. Let's dive into these incredible stories of cities in crisis. 1. The Leaning Tower of San Francisco. In downtown San Francisco stands Millennium Tower, a 58-story luxury skyscraper that has sunk 18 inches and tilted 14 inches since its completion in 2009. This engineering nightmare was built on soft clay and sand rather than bedrock, causing it to slowly sink and lean. Residents paid millions for penthouses, only to watch their investments literally crumble beneath them. The building continues sinking at a rate of 1 inch per year, sparking lawsuits and engineering debates about whether it can be saved or must be demolished. 2. Detroit's urban prairie. Once the proud Motor City, Detroit has transformed into an urban prairie, with over 100,000 vacant lots scattered throughout the city. Entire neighborhoods have been reclaimed by nature, with wild grass growing through abandoned foundations, and deer roaming former residential streets. The city demolished over 20,000 abandoned houses, creating a post-apocalyptic landscape where urban farming now thrives in what were once bustling communities. This massive depopulation represents one of America's most dramatic urban collapses. 3. The sinking city of Jakarta. Jakarta, Indonesia is sinking faster than any other city on Earth, plunging up to 10 inches annually in some areas. Home to 10 million people, this megacity is literally disappearing beneath the waves due to excessive groundwater pumping and the weight of massive concrete structures. Entire neighborhoods have already been swallowed by floods, and by 2050, much of North Jakarta will be underwater. The government plans to relocate the capital, but millions remain trapped in this slowly drowning urban disaster. 4. Venice's Acqua Alta crisis. Venice, Italy faces an existential threat as rising sea levels and frequent flooding events called Acqua Alta threaten to permanently submerge this UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city floods over 100 times per year, with Mark Square often under several feet of water. Despite a massive flood barrier system costing billions of euros, Venice continues to sink while sea levels rise. Tourism revenue battles against the reality that this architectural wonder may become uninhabitable within decades. 5. Mexico City's Great Sinking. Built on an ancient lakebed, Mexico City is sinking at an alarming rate of up to 20 inches per year in some areas. The massive metropolitan area, home to over 21 million people, is literally eating itself as underground aquifers collapse from excessive water pumping. Buildings crack, sidewalks buckle, and the magnificent cathedral tilts precariously. Engineers struggle to save infrastructure while the city slowly disappears into the soft sediment beneath, creating a slow-motion urban catastrophe. 6. Lagos traffic apocalypse. Lagos, Nigeria, experiences some of the world's worst traffic gridlock, with commuters regularly spending 6-8 hours daily stuck in traffic. The city's 15 million residents navigate crumbling roads, inadequate public transport, and complete traffic chaos that costs the economy billions annually. During rush hour, the city essentially stops functioning, as highways become parking lots and simple journeys become day-long ordeals. This transportation disaster exemplifies how rapid urbanization without proper infrastructure creates living nightmares. 7. The Ghost City of Ordos. In Inner Mongolia, China, sits Kangbashi, the new district of Ordos built to house 1 million people but remains largely empty, earning it the nickname Ghost City. Massive apartment blocks, shopping centers, and government buildings stand vacant in this urban planning disaster that cost billions to construct. Streets designed for heavy traffic remain eerily quiet, while elaborate fountains and sculptures serve no population. This monument to overambitious development represents China's most spectacular urban planning failure. 8. Mumbai's slum megalopolis. Dharavi in Mumbai, India, houses over 1 million people in just 2.1 square kilometers, making it one of the world's most densely populated areas. This urban disaster combines extreme poverty, inadequate sanitation, open sewers, and industrial pollution, creating horrific living conditions. Families of 6 share single rooms, while toxic waste flows through narrow alleys. Despite government promises of redevelopment, this sprawling slum continues growing as rural migrants seek urban opportunities in conditions barely fit for human habitation. 9. The burning city of Centralia. Centralia, Pennsylvania has been burning underground for over 60 years after a coal seam fire ignited in 1962. This once thriving mining town of 1,000 residents is now virtually abandoned as toxic gases seep through cracks in the ground and temperatures reach dangerous levels. The few remaining residents live above an inferno that may burn for another 250 years. Roads buckle from the heat below, while steam and smoke rise from the earth, creating an apocalyptic landscape. 10. Istanbul's earthquake nightmare. Istanbul, Turkey sits atop multiple fault lines, with seismologists predicting a catastrophic earthquake that could kill up to 90,000 people and collapse thousands of buildings. The city of 16 million has countless structures built without proper earthquake codes, creating a ticking time bomb of urban vulnerability. Recent smaller quakes have revealed the extent of dangerous construction practices, while residents live in constant fear of the big one that experts say is inevitable. 11. The drowning Maldives. The Maldives capital, Malé, is one of the world's most densely populated cities, crammed onto a tiny island barely above sea level. With over 100,000 people packed into just 2.2 square miles, this urban disaster faces complete submersion as ocean levels rise. The government has built seawalls and is pumping sand to raise the island's height, but scientists predict the entire nation could be underwater within 80 years, forcing a complete urban evacuation. 12. Karachi's water wars. Karachi, Pakistan faces an unprecedented water crisis as the city of 16 million people receives only half the water it needs daily. Residents wait in long lines for water trucks, while the wealthy drill illegal bore wells that further deplete groundwater. Entire neighborhoods go weeks without water supply, leading to riots and violence. This urban disaster exemplifies how rapid population growth without infrastructure investment creates humanitarian catastrophes in developing megacities. 13. The plastic island of Manila Bay. Manila Bay, in the Philippines, has become so polluted with plastic waste that satellite images show floating islands of garbage stretching for miles. The city's 13 million residents produce 6,000 tons of plastic waste daily, much of which ends up in waterways, creating toxic floating disasters. Fish populations have collapsed, while residents suffer from waterborne diseases. Despite cleanup efforts, the plastic continues accumulating faster than it can be removed. 14. Baghdad's infrastructure collapse. Baghdad, Iraq, represents one of the world's most dramatic urban infrastructure collapses, as decades of war, sanctions, and corruption have destroyed essential services. The city of 7 million people endures daily power outages, contaminated water supplies, and crumbling roads. Summer temperatures exceed 120 DEF, while air conditioning remains a luxury for the wealthy. This once great center of civilization now struggles to provide basic urban services, creating a modern Dark Age scenario. 15. The vanishing Aral Sea cities. The former Soviet Union's irrigation projects drained the Aral Sea, creating an environmental disaster that destroyed entire cities along its shores. Moynak, Uzbekistan, once a thriving fishing port, now sits 150 kilometers from the nearest water, surrounded by a toxic salt desert. Rusted ships lie stranded in what was once a seabed, while residents suffer from respiratory diseases caused by salt and chemical dust storms that regularly engulf the ghost town. 16. Sao Paulo's favela mountains. Sao Paulo, Brazil, contains over 1,600 favelas, housing 2 million people in precarious conditions on steep hillsides throughout the megacity. These informal settlements lack proper foundations, sewage systems, or safe construction, creating disasters waiting to happen. During heavy rains, entire neighborhoods slide down mountainsides while fires spread rapidly through densely packed structures. Government attempts at upgrading these areas often displace residents without providing alternatives. 17. The Sahara in Beijing. Beijing, China, regularly experiences sandstorms so severe they block out the sun as the Gobi Desert expands southward toward the capital. These apocalyptic dust storms engulf the city of 22 million people, reducing visibility to near zero and coating everything in yellow sand. Combined with industrial pollution, these events create some of the world's worst air quality, forcing residents indoors and causing widespread respiratory problems. Climate change and desertification continue worsening this urban environmental disaster. 18. Damascus under siege. Damascus, Syria, has endured over a decade of warfare that transformed this ancient city into an urban wasteland. Entire neighborhoods lie in ruins while residents navigate around bomb craters and collapsed buildings. Basic services like electricity, water, and medical care remain sporadic, while unexploded ordnance makes many areas too dangerous to inhabit. This 4,000-year-old city represents how modern conflicts can rapidly destroy millennia of urban development and cultural heritage. 19. The sinking Netherlands. Amsterdam and other Dutch cities face an ironic crisis as the very engineering that saved them from the sea now threatens their foundations. Centuries of pumping water from polders has caused widespread subsidence, with some areas sinking several meters below sea level. Historic buildings develop cracks, while modern structures require constant foundation adjustments. Rising sea levels combined with continued sinking create a double threat to these low-lying urban areas. 20. Nairobi's Kibera Catastrophe. Kibera in Nairobi, Kenya houses nearly 1 million people in one of Africa's largest slums, where residents live without running water, proper sanitation, or electricity. Open sewers flow between corrugated metal shacks while disease spreads rapidly through the overcrowded settlement. Children play in toxic waste, while families survive on less than $1 per day. This urban disaster highlights the extreme inequality that defines many African cities. 21. The burning Amazon cities. Cities like Porto Velho and Rio Branco in Brazil's Amazon region experience apocalyptic conditions during fire season as smoke from burning rainforest engulfs urban areas. Residents wear masks while hospitals overflow with respiratory patients, and flights get canceled due to zero visibility. These cities literally choke on the destruction of the world's lungs while continuing the very deforestation that creates their environmental nightmare. 22. Flint's poison water. Flint, Michigan became synonymous with urban disaster when cost-cutting measures contaminated the city's water supply with lead poisoning, thousands of residents, including children, who suffered permanent brain damage. This environmental racism affected a predominantly African American population, while officials covered up the crisis for years. The disaster exposed how poverty and racial inequality can turn basic urban services into weapons of mass destruction against vulnerable populations. 23. The concrete jungle of Dhaka. Dhaka, Bangladesh represents the ultimate urban nightmare, with 22 million people crammed into inadequate space, creating the world's most densely populated megacity. Traffic gridlock lasts for hours while air pollution reaches hazardous levels and the Buriganga River flows black with industrial waste. Residents navigate through a maze of rickshaws, construction sites, and open sewers, while monsoon floods regularly paralyze the entire city, creating annual humanitarian disasters. 24. Las Vegas Desert Mirage. Las Vegas, Nevada exists as an impossible city built in one of America's driest deserts, now facing a water crisis as lake mead drops to historic lows. This gambling oasis consumes massive amounts of water for fountains, golf courses, and swimming pools, while the Colorado River system collapses from drought and overuse. The city may eventually become uninhabitable as water supplies dwindle and summer temperatures regularly exceed 115 degrees. 2005, the collapsing Caucasus. Tbilisi, Georgia faces an infrastructure crisis as Soviet-era buildings throughout the city randomly collapse, killing residents and highlighting decades of deferred maintenance. Balconies fall onto sidewalks while entire apartment blocks are condemned, leaving thousands homeless. The city's aging infrastructure, combined with corruption and poverty, creates a Russian roulette scenario where residents never know if their building will be the next to crumble. 26. Mumbai's monsoon madness. Mumbai, India virtually shuts down each year during monsoon season as the city of 20 million people cannot cope with heavy rainfall. Streets become rivers while the suburban train system stops functioning, stranding millions of commuters. Slums flood with contaminated water, spreading disease, while wealthy neighborhoods also suffer as drainage systems built for colonial-era populations cannot handle current urban density, creating annual chaos. 27. The Poisoned Pearl. Hong Kong, once called the Pearl of the Orient, now struggles with some of the world's worst air pollution as smog from mainland China combines with local emissions to create toxic clouds that engulf the city. Residents develop respiratory diseases while visibility drops so low that flights get canceled and tourists avoid outdoor activities. This former British colony showcases how regional pollution can destroy urban livability regardless of local environmental policy. 28. Phoenix Rising Heat. Phoenix, Arizona faces an existential crisis as climate change pushes summer temperatures above 120 degrees, making the city potentially uninhabitable. The urban heat island effect, combined with concrete and asphalt, creates surface temperatures exceeding 180 degrees that can melt shoes and kill within hours. Air conditioning costs soar while power grids struggle to meet demand, creating a vicious cycle where cooling the city becomes economically and environmentally impossible. 29. The Crumbling American Dream. Detroit, Michigan represents the ultimate American urban disaster, as a city that once housed 2 million people shrunk to just 670,000, leaving behind a post-apocalyptic landscape of abandoned skyscrapers and vacant lots. The former Motor City showcases how deindustrialization can hollow out urban cores, leaving behind crime, poverty, and decay, while suburban sprawl consumes surrounding farmland, creating unsustainable metropolitan regions. 30. Chernobyl's Atomic Ghost. Pripyat, Ukraine remains a perfectly preserved Soviet city frozen in time since the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster forced immediate evacuation of 50,000 residents. Schools, hospitals, and apartment buildings stand exactly as residents left them, while nature slowly reclaims the urban landscape. This atomic ghost town serves as a haunting reminder of how technological disasters can instantly transform thriving cities into radioactive wastelands uninhabitable for thousands of years. 31. The Himalayan Meltdown. Kathmandu, Nepal faces an unprecedented urban disaster as melting glaciers from climate change threaten to flood the valley, while earthquakes regularly devastate the city's ancient architecture. The 2015 earthquake killed 9,000 people and destroyed centuries of cultural heritage, while the city of 3 million struggles with inadequate infrastructure. Rising temperatures cause glacial lakes to burst, sending floods toward the capital, creating a perfect storm of natural disasters. 32. Cairo's Garbage City. In Cairo, Egypt, the Zabaleen district houses 60,000 people who live among mountains of garbage in one of the world's most polluted urban environments. Families sort through toxic waste with bare hands, while children play in contaminated streets surrounded by rotting refuse. This garbage city processes 40% of Cairo's waste, creating a parallel economy where residents survive by recycling urban refuse in conditions that would be considered uninhabitable anywhere else. 33. The Vanishing Venice of the East. Aleppo, India, once called the Venice of the East, now drowns in plastic pollution and sewage as its famous backwaters become toxic wastelands. The city's canals designed for transportation now flow with industrial waste and plastic debris, killing fish populations and destroying the tourism industry. Rising sea levels combined with monsoon flooding create annual disasters while the city's unique heritage slowly disappears beneath contaminated waters. 34. Aleppo's ancient ruins. Aleppo, Syria. One of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities has been reduced to rubble after years of warfare, destroyed 5,000 years of urban heritage. The ancient citadel, souk, and mosque lie in ruins while residents navigate through streets filled with debris and unexploded ordnance. This UNESCO World Heritage Site represents how modern conflict can erase millennia of human civilization, leaving behind only memories of what was once a thriving cultural center. 35. The methane city of Lanzhou. Lanzhou, China, sits in a valley that traps air pollution, creating some of the world's most toxic urban environments where residents rarely see blue sky. The city of 4 million people breathes air so polluted that it regularly exceeds safe levels by 1,000%, while industrial emissions combine with geography to create a toxic bowl. Children develop respiratory diseases, while life expectancy drops significantly compared to cleaner Chinese cities, creating a public health disaster. 36. Port-au-Prince Tent City. Port-au-Prince, Haiti remains largely destroyed over a decade after the 2010 earthquake, with 1.5 million people still living in temporary shelters and tent cities. The capital lacks basic infrastructure while residents survive without clean water, proper sanitation, or reliable electricity. Cholera outbreaks regularly kill thousands while political instability prevents reconstruction efforts, creating a permanent humanitarian disaster where people exist rather than live. 37. The floating slums of Lagos. Lagos, Nigeria, hosts vast floating slums where hundreds of thousands of people live on stilts above polluted lagoons without access to clean water or sanitation. These waterfront communities face constant flooding while residents navigate through sewage-contaminated waters to reach dry land. Children grow up in houses built on garbage while families survive by fishing in toxic waters, creating aquatic urban disasters unique to coastal megacities. 38. Ulaanbaatar's Gare District. Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, struggles with massive slums called Gare districts where rural migrants live in traditional tents without heating during winters that reach more than 50 DFF. Over 60% of the city's population lives in these informal settlements, burning coal and wood for warmth, creating some of the world's worst air pollution. Families freeze in sub-zero temperatures while toxic smoke engulfs the city, creating a deadly combination of poverty and environmental disaster. 39. The Plastic Pacific. While not technically urban, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch affects coastal cities worldwide as plastic waste from urban areas creates floating islands of debris twice the size of Texas. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco contribute millions of tons of plastic annually to this oceanic disaster that kills marine life and enters the food chain. This represents how urban consumption patterns create global environmental catastrophes affecting every coastal city. 40. The future urban disasters. Climate change and rapid urbanization threaten to create new urban disasters as sea levels rise, temperatures soar, and extreme weather becomes normal. Cities like Miami, Bangkok, and Alexandria face submersion, while others like Phoenix and Dubai may become uninhabitable from heat. Water wars, cyber attacks, and infrastructure collapse represent emerging threats that could transform any modern city into an urban disaster zone within decades. These 40 urban disasters represent just the beginning, as climate change, rapid urbanization, and technological risks create new threats to city dwellers worldwide. From sinking megacities to toxic air and water supplies, Modern urban life faces unprecedented challenges that require innovative solutions and international cooperation. As more people move to cities, understanding and preventing these disasters becomes crucial for humanity's future survival and prosperity in an increasingly urbanized world. Thanks for watching this video exploring these unbelievable urban disasters that actually exist. Did I miss any major urban catastrophes? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this exploration of urban nightmares as fascinating and terrifying as I did while researching these incredible stories.